All right, welcome back to second semester H Radio 223 part-timers. Hope you're ready and you're excited. Well, within obviously certain expectations to be realistic, but excited to finish the year strong as we go into the last 3 months of your studies in radio. Hope to see you next year too. Right, I'm pushing already that I get some cool majors, radio major students. All right, listen, just to get directly into the lessons for the week and just a little bit of admin. I will be seeing you next week. So this week is, as you can see, pre-recorded lessons, and I'll see you in class. We will cover the formative three, and I think that's pretty much it. That's some short admin there. If there are any questions, the subs are already marked, and the marks will be out for those of you that did need to sub as well. But just if there is or are any questions and you need some guidance, you can just DM me directly, or just drop a comment in the WhatsApp group itself. All right. So, if you recall, which I know it was a long time ago, we did end with music. It was part 4 of 6, and we started discussing compiling music. We are going to touch on compiling music, but also going to be chatting about featurettes as well as speciality shows. So, speciality music shows in this particular lesson. The lesson is not very long theoretically, but I do have two great videos. One is about how to submit your music to a station, or how music is submitted to a station, right? Which you will see some theoretics are covered in the lesson itself. But the second one is how to create a playlist using Radio DJ, right? You might think that it has no relevance to you because you're not, I mean, practically you're not in a studio, you're not really using any software, it doesn't matter. Radio DJ is free. It's free downloadable software, and it's a playback system, which is it's great. I mean, I've used it while I was on online radio, right? And we use Radio DJ. The playback systems, just in general, whether you are using obviously a high end one like we do with Genesis or RCS or whatever it may be, right? Zeta. Um, or you're using like a low end one. I say a low end one, so something like Radio DJ. You are still going to be able to do the same thing. So upload music, create playlists, create clocks, and then obviously do the playback. It's got everything, and really cool little app that you can actually start practicing. Getting used to. How to navigate a little bit of a amateur show, right? So just remember that you can go look that up, a Radio DJ online, and just download and install that piece of software. All right. Compiling music, part 5 of 6, Cullinan and Nash's book, Next Level Radio, Durban, Edge Publishing, chapter 5, compiling music. Let us go into the first slide over here. All right. So we're going to go, like I said, back and forth. As you can also see here on the left, we're going to move into little bit of a discussion about featurettes and specialty shows. But compiling music, right? We want to start off with because you have got a background. Excuse me, still it's winter, snot, nose, sinus anyway. So excuse the sniffing, right? But you have been introduced to not only the concept but enough theoretics throughout the past 4 lessons before we ended the first semester on compiling music. So it's easy enough for you to go ahead and try activity 5A. And this is what is expected of you, right? Listen to 2 hours of a commercial South African radio station. So you can pick from any of the Kagiso or the Primedia broadcasting stations, or you can go ahead and pick, let's say, 5FM or Metro FM to complete this exercise, right? So list all the songs that you do hear in the order that you do hear them by artist and song, and use an app like Shazam to help you get the title and the artist, right? Then attempt to figure out how many categories this station actually has currently active, or it's the categories that are active. You're not going to, and we don't expect you to get all of them because you have to probably listen to at least a day, to be able to find out, oh, I mean, how far back or how many, in terms of a guesstimation, they might be breaking down certain subcategories or whatever it may be into. But you can obviously remember we said there were recurrent hits, there were top 40s, there were whatever it may be, right? In the previous lessons, try and place each song heard in a category and then create a rotational clock as per table 5.4 on page 177. Okay. As you know, probably this will be somehow reflected in your formatives as well, but don't always work to achieving a formative in your studies, work to obviously gaining information and power. I say power and ownership in the subject matter that you are dealing with in any of your modules, right? For example, radio. All right, let's look at a couple of slides on features and specialist music shows. So you would know that obviously just in terms of like what's considered, I would say a standard definition of a feature is something that, it's a construct that has an exoskeleton, right? On a show, on any particular show, that whenever the show is run, so perhaps it's daily, maybe the I would say the consistency, but the recurrent nature of it. So it's repetition, right? Might happen, let's say, every Monday morning, or it might happen every Wednesday evening, or it might happen every single day at a certain time. It always stays at the same time, or it could be, again, like I say, it could be on a weekend or whatever it may be, right? The feature needs to be at the same time. The exoskeleton means that we have a structure for the feature, right? And the structure allows for dynamic content. That's how we know it's a good feature. So we can place something brand new every single time within the feature, the construct, again, the exoskeleton, right? Of the feature itself, and then it'll always produce something really cool and entertaining, and features across the board. The simpler they actually are, right? Like anything I think, just in general in life, I think the simpler, the more effective it's going to be for your target audience or your market, right? At the end of the day, right? So the thing is with features, when you are coming up with features, 10 to 1, you're going to go listen to 10 to 1, you're going to go listen to what you already know, which is a reference to whatever might be happening on, local stations or regional stations, national stations, international, whatever it may be, anything that you might be seeing or hearing on a radio station of your choice, right? And you'll recognize, well, okay, I mean, like it's a song of the day, or it's triple play this, or it's a happy birthday something something. It's a mental health feature. It is a whatever it is, right? So you'd be able to easily recognize one of your own favorite features, and then you'd have to ask yourself, listen, what makes this like such a great feature for me? Why do I enjoy it so much, or what makes it work so well? Listeners are involved, or they are interacting, and they're enjoying it just like you are, whether you are passive or active, right? In its, obviously it's execution, right? Okay, but so you would, at this moment, I want you to start thinking about these particular features, maybe naming them, because if it's really good and you have enjoyed them and you have listened to them quite often, you would know the name of the feature as well. It's got to be something catchy, and something that's memorable as well, and obviously it does describe what it is that the feature is all about. Okay. So, as I was saying there, the most popular features are music-based features that they tend to want are the most simplest, like I mentioned, a triple play this, or a then and now type thing, a cover this, a theme-based feature. Like I do a theme-based feature on my show, a music-based one. It's not very clever. I'm saying I mean, it's not so original, but I do a weekend show, and I know that, well, our directive is that you must play more music, right? And so a music-based feature is an obvious choice within a show. Mine is called the Something About Something Triple Play, where that's the kind of original spin on the very old hat notion of a triple play, as a music-based feature is based on. So what I do is literally I ask the co-host and I say, what would just give me any word, give me any thought, give me any notion, whatever it may be, doesn't matter, whatever you want. So, for example, like a station or a target or consistency or programming or radio or show or audience or hats or smiles or whatever it is, right? Breakups. And I will then go find three songs that are really cool, very popular, and fit within obviously our own format, so the station's format, which is a psychographic, as I've mentioned to you before. I work at 919, and make sure that I play some really great, like a cool something about something triple play. So that the really, I mean, the secret to creating a good feature or a great feature is to be able to take something that might be, I mean, like I say, done to death. 10 to 1, you're not going to really think about a completely original feature, right? All the time. You'll take something that's already existed at any one particular point and you'll put a new spin on it. That's how you create something original. And that's why I like the something about something feature because it's something about something. And we put a little bit of, like I say, a little bit of fun, a fun twist to it. And it works and the audience likes it. I don't know if they love it. I mean, but I'm sure they like it. No complaints so far, right? Um, you can also broaden, like say, if I wanted to broaden the feature, which I wouldn't like to complicate it, but if I do, like let's say, I do sometimes add social media aspects to it as well, and say, like for example, this week's one is about. No, I don't even actually know what this week's one is about. Last week's was about the word kiss, right? Then I went to social media and I said, if you could use one word to describe your first kiss, what would it be? And people would answer awkward. It was surprising. It was invasive. It was wet. It was gross, whatever it may be. And so it's nice to be able to then add that as added value and say, well, responses from a first kiss on social media were the following to kind of buffer there's something about something triple play. So there is always a nice way to be able to add some dimension to a feature as well, because of the existence of social media, digital media, and the way that we can actually have a premeditated contribution right from our audience. So think about that. Okay, many or most radio stations tend to narrowcast rather than broadcast. What does that actually mean? It means to aim a broadcast at a narrowly defined area or audience, and thereby increasing that particular target market that they are targeting at the end of the day. So they're aiming towards these particular people. We have discussed this before. It's not, you can't be everything to everyone, and your radio station will suffer, the programming will suffer, and your audience will start to diminish if you're trying to appease someone out your target market. So let's say you are doing 18 to 30-year-olds and they are black male, female with a certain SEM, right? Then you mustn't be trying to also appease, let's say, a black female male market that is over 50 as well, or under, let's say, 16 as well, to try and say, listen, I want to try and get more listeners in this way. You won't. You'll just, you're better, obviously, strategic approach, I suppose. Yeah, that's better. A strategy would be to say, I want to be able to find more of those 18 to 24-year-olds, black male, female, SEM of whatever it is, right? Okay. So that is always the rule of thumb. You'll see that repeated quite often throughout your radio studies, right? All throughout all 3 years. And that's very important to understand how we then obviously again we know our target audience, we know how to build obviously content, and then in this case know how to build, let's say, a specialty music show or a feature that fits their particular lifestyle at the end of the day and what it is that they want. Okay. So even with the most targeted programming and consistent research, excuse the error there, there'll be periods where your listeners will not be available. So this is a primary reason for or specialist or speciality programming, for example, like a top 40 show, right? So which normally features on a Saturday, and the I would say the trend or the pattern right now is to make sure that the top 40 doesn't air as early as it used to before. Like I think it was yeah, at 10 o'clock. It was always at 10 o'clock. Some stations have pushed it to 12 o'clock, 11 o'clock. Definitely, they pushed it because they see the lifestyle of most listeners. The majority of listeners has become it's changed. It's different, right? Okay, they are up later, right? Or they are busy with other things on a Saturday morning, and they're not listening to the radio station. And what happens is the top 40, predominantly why they do push it a little bit later at most radio stations, is because people are back home, right? Or back somewhere where they are stagnant. Okay. Um, Please excuse if you can actually hear some like what is this thing, like a lawnmower, whatever it is, the neighbors anyway, whatever. Okay. All right. So as I was saying to you, right? So where was I now? This lawnmower has distracted me. Oh yeah, the top 40, right? The top 40. Okay. So with the top 40, they've moved it up there, and they've said that obviously through obviously focus groups, and as we know about research, whatever, we found that audiences are back home at about, let's say, 1 o'clock, 1:30, and they're enjoying like their Saturday afternoon with friends or family or whatever on their own, and they're much more inclined to enjoy a top 40 a little bit later on in the day, right? So, specialty programs like a top 40, like, for example, a dance show, like a classic show, whatever it is, there's so many different types of music based specialty programs that we can actually put together and do air across different radio stations that I'm sure you can also recognize and identify some of your own, right? So, this is a primary reason. Like I said there, radio stations often have a variety of shows that are targeted to different audiences. So again, like let's say a gospel show would be a good example of a different type of sub audience or sub target market of your main demographic, right? But it still appeals to them at the end of the day. Each of these shows' programming is different and tailored to the audience likely to be listening at that particular time. Let me just quickly go to the next slide here. All right, here we go. So the formula for specialist programming is as follows. Potential listeners during the low listener time on the station minus the current listenership, the current listenership is equal to the potential targeted programming that we could possibly then obviously acquire. With talk radio stations that do run specialty shows also on weekends predominantly, they will run their talk shows and segments throughout the entire week, with the changes becoming very apparent on weekends, switching to lighter best of shows, sports, lifestyle, and then, like I said, music shows, particularly things that you could probably pick up from, let's say, 702 SAFM, that type of stuff. Would be again classics shows like old school shows, that type of feel and vibe, right? They wouldn't have a top 40 because they're not a music based station, right? So Weekend Talk is usually lower as the lifestyle of the weekday listener is more relaxed on the weekend. You don't have a car that you are stuck in to go to work and want the station as a I say like a comrade, some kind of you know like what's the word I'm looking for? Like a friend on the other side, someone that's going to keep you company, right? All the way to, during, and back from work, right? Your lifestyle does change over the weekend. You do want a little bit more peace and quiet, and that's predominantly why we do push more music. And I suppose not maybe a justified reason. I don't see a justified reason to eliminate DJs from any show, but you know that even from commercial or at a commercial level, you'll see that there are shows that are just automated across the weekend. A lot of pre-recorded shows, so you'll hear on definitely on the commercial stations, you can actually tell when you're listening to a weekend show that these links have been pre-recorded by that DJ, very generic, they're not specific. They just kind of back announce a song. They throw forward to something. They make a little comment and they go back to the music, which I think is just poor radio in general. But I suppose it saves money, and according to that particular station's focus groups, that is the business decision that is best for the station, right? So, okay, let's look at featurettes. Okay, featurettes, and again, what? No, well, I'm continuing with this. Sorry, exactly. Let me just get back to focus. So, when it comes to specialist shows, there are generally two types. One is block programming, and then there's show programming, right? So you can imagine now already what block programming is. Kind of obviously visually put that into your mind. We want to be able to kind of like cluster together different types of shows, for example, like over weekends where you would find more specialty shows, like I say, an afternoon R&B show, like a relaxed jams, again, coupled in with a Friday afternoon, night, Sunday morning. You're going to find all these different types of lifestyle reflective shows. So something that's going to reflect this listener's lifestyle and what they would probably enjoy or choose the station to be, like I say, a companion, a comrade, right? In what it is that they are doing on their every weekend day, right? So, again, please, if you can hear that, I'm not sure if you can. Normally, people can't actually hear the background noise. There's a dog and whatever it is. I do apologize for that. Okay. All right. Ugh, neighbors. Anyway, all right. So anyway, the block programming, again, sorry, show programming is compiled by specialists in different genres like 60s and 70s, music from Africa, and the diaspora that does obviously surround that as well, right? So the different options and I say different what's the word I'm looking for? Different types of concepts we can build, like around, for example, just African based. So traditional, or again, religious, or again, youth, or whatever it may be, right? So these shows ensure that their presenters are recognized experts in those fields, okay? Specialty programming requires monitoring and tweaking so that we can get the perfect recipe or the secret sauce at the end of the day. Here are some examples of features, right? And then speciality shows. So, features, Ask a Man is probably the most well known feature, I could probably say, in South Africa, thanks to Bonang, as we always say, because she's the one that made it so massively known or popular. Okay, and it obviously has carried on with like from her legacy onwards to the replacements that have followed up, and it still carries on because the feature is much more popular at this point or any one point than it was than the DJ was with the exception of obviously Bonang. That was the reason why Oscar Man became so big because Bonang was so big, right? Anyway, with Anele in the club, they have classic or not. I'm quite sure that they still do that. I saw that on social media. Again, it's so you as a specialist, like a radio specialist, you roll your eyes backwards, but then you roll them back forward because you say, well, what else are they going to do? There was just as an example of what Anila was doing was it was a feel good song. I only rolled my eyes because we're a feel good station. They're doing a feel good song every morning, whatever it may be, where you can go and request whatever it may be. Music features work the best. Again, not original at all. Don't judge a DJ or a station and the quality of that station by music based features because you can't. They always work. I'm saying the feature will always work and they will never die. Music features will never die. Okay, so speciality shows, music shows. the 947 Top 40 powered by CTM, for example. I'm not sure if the sponsors are still the same. Kai FM 9.95.9 Elite Nights, right? Metro FM sounds and stuff like that as well. Okay. All right. So let's go into a video before we actually go into submissions of your music itself. These or all this you can actually find on every and any station's landing page itself, right? You'll always see like how do I submit my music, and then it'll give, I don't know, there might be a little bit of a like you can upload your music file or whatever it may be, and there are some criteria. Obviously, you must be signed with a label or independent or whatever it is. You must state this type of stuff, and you got to obviously have some kind of library and profile, whatever it may be, right? Definitely registered with SAMRO, but stuff that I will go into after this video. Okay, so let me just quickly share. Just want to, excuse me, I just want to get the video up. It is so I wanted to try and find something I did that was specifically South African. Hang on a second. Hold on a second. Second. Let's share the screen now. Where are we? Okay, share. Got share sound. Yeah, we go. Okay, and I'm gonna switch. I'm gonna go blow my nose while you enjoy this. Here we go.
Are you a South African musician trying to figure out how to submit your music to radio stations? Welcome to this episode where I plan on demystifying just that. Cue the intro! What's up, it's your boy Skill from skillmusicsa.com, and welcome to my channel where I share information with my fellow South African musicians to help them improve on their music business. If this sounds interesting to you, please do consider subscribing, as I have other videos I think you will find informative. In this video, I plan on sharing my thoughts on how you should go about submitting to several radio stations within South Africa. Now, before you start running off and submitting all your music to radio stations, I think it is very important that you register yourself with two organizations in particular, and a third one is optional. The first one is SAMRO, so you can start collecting your performance royalties, and you have to register yourself and the song. It is necessary for most radio stations, especially the SABC ones, to have a relation number which is given from SAMRO. The second organization I highly suggest that you register yourself with is SAMPRA. SAMPRA collects the needle time royalties. The needle time royalties have to do basically with the sound recording, so if you own the recordings of a song, then you should be getting the needle time royalties. The third one that I highly suggest that you affiliate yourself with is RISA. You don't necessarily have to be a member for RISA, but in order to get your ISRC codes, you have to register on their online portal. These three organizations, I've done several tutorials on each of them, and I've left links in the bio. You can also check out my playlist, Figuring Out the SA Music Industry. There are several videos that will help you understand how to go about registering these platforms. A fourth one I highly suggest that you register yourself with is DistroKid. DistroKid helps distribute your music on platforms such as Spotify, Apple Music, etc. But the feature that I think is very interesting if you're going for radio play is the Shazam feature. Shazam is basically an app that you use that can tell you what song is being played when it's being used. The reason you want that is if your song is being played on radio, you want people to listen and stream that music, and the only way to do that is if it's on Spotify and Apple Music and it is connected to Shazam. There's an additional fee for DistroKid and an additional fee for Shazam, so if you can't afford it, don't worry, life will move on, people will be able to find your music, but at least get your music on the online platforms. Now for the main topic of this video, how do you submit to a radio station? There's no one size that fits all for all radio stations. Each radio station generally has their own submission guidelines, but in terms of South Africa, all SABC radio stations have to have a way that tells the public how to submit their music. So I'm going to head over to my PC and show you exactly where to find this contact list and to check the submission guidelines. But before I move on to that, not all radio stations are owned by the SABC, so several other radio stations may be worth your time to investigate how to submit. I know, for example, Algoa FM has its own platform of how to go about submitting to your music, but I think the best way in all of this is to give the radio stations a call and ask to get in contact with the music compiler. The music compiler is the one that arranges basically playlists, and the only way to get onto those playlists is if that music compiler thinks your music is a perfect fit. So I'm going to head over to my PC and show you exactly where to find this contact list and to check the guidelines. What's up? So the first thing you're going to do is try organize a list of radio stations that you want to target. Okay, so the easiest thing to do, you know, SABC owns all the radio stations, so you're going to hit Google Google SABC radio stations. Here it is here. If you click on the list where it says Radio SABC official website, this is the best way to get a list of all the radio stations that they cover. Okay, these are all the radio stations that they cover SABC. Now what you want is to get the contact details of the radio stations that you are interested in. So I'm going to look at True FM in particular. Let's hit the Google True FM. The reason I chose True FM is that it's actually pretty big, but not too big. It's not Metro FM big, and it's easier to get access into. So the thing you want is to find the FAQ section. No, I don't want to do so. What you want to do is find the FAQ section. Usually it's in the tab at the top, but I think they realized people were catching on to it, so they've moved the FAQ section. If it's not at the top, you'll find it under more where it says FAQ. Click on the FAQ. And as you can see on the FAQ section, there's a section that says submit original music for airplay. They give you very specific details, so don't deviate from these specifications. Here's the email address that you want to collect, and it must not be more than 4 megabytes, the size of your MP3. So there's 3 things that you need. You need to send them an email, you need to attach an MP3 of your song, and it must be no bigger than 4 megabytes. This applies to most of the radio stations in here. Let's try to Metro FM, because everyone knows Metro FM. Metro FM. Internet's so slow. Oh, I already went in. You see Metro FM is also owned by the SABC. You can see at the top, and there they show you a FAQ section right there. So you just click on the FAQ section. Take some time, and then it should be here somewhere, most likely. You have to look very carefully because they've kind of tried to hide it. Here it is again. Music at Metro FM. This is where you get a hold of the music compiler, Music at Metro FM. So one thing you do notice is that the SABC websites, they put the name of the radio station at the end, .co.za, but it begins with music. If you look at True FM, music at truefm.co.za. So 9 times out of 10, you could probably assume that radio station uses the same type of, let's check out 5FM. 5FM. I'm just giving you several examples because they don't give the same specifications. If you look at Metro FM, it says if you'd like to submit your music to be considered for airplay, submit to Metro FM via email on music@Metro FM. They don't tell you a size, but since True FM is already giving you a size, send the same size file to the other one. I think when it gets over 4 megabytes, it automatically bounces, so it won't get to them. What happened? Yeah, oh, it's a digital player. You don't want the digital player now, do you? Go to the website. Let's check. 5FM has also got an FAQ section. What is playing? Submissions, downloads, promote your course. Here it says submit original music. When submission, you see it's slightly different for 5FM. Submit your music digitally to playlist at 5fm.co.za, and the file size must not be bigger than 5 megabytes, but keep it to the 4 megabyte size, just in case it gets kicked out automatically. And with them, they actually want a little bit more information. Register, you see over here, they won't even consider your song if it's not registered with SAMRO. And then the file size must not be bigger than 6 megabytes. I suggest that you add, if you're going to submit to something like 5FM, that you add this JPEG in the same link where the wave is. So if they download the wave, they get both. They also want a short biography, so there's a list of things they want in particular. So each radio station will kind of specify what type of submissions they want, so make sure that you are aware of what they want. But that's the easiest way to find the contact details. What I do suggest though, 5FM is really big, so I wouldn't even attempt to target them unless you know a specific show. Now I'm going to use 5FM as an example. Under shows, you click at the top, and then you try and find a show that you think would work. I don't even listen to 5FM. DJ Lloyd, I don't know, what does Lloyd do? You have to try a show that plays hip-hop. You don't know what, you say Google hip-hop show. 5FM hip-hop show. I think it's Miss Cosmo. Yeah, it is Miss Cosmo. You see, Miss Cosmo is the one that is in charge. So whenever she plays, I suggest that you listen up to... I'm going to listen to a show this coming weekend to see what type of music she's been playing. I've got a song coming up. So if she's, by looking at the top 5 local, she won't be playing underground type of music. She'll be more interested in the commercial sounding, and in general that's what 5FM does play. You look at the track list of the Stir Up, and then you check if this type of music fits in with your type of music. Okay, now we've got the nitty gritties. So how do you plan this? You set up a list on Excel, most likely. You get all the contact details down. You listen. You go through all the radio stations that you think are probable, that you think you have a chance of getting in. Start with the smallest ones, because the smallest ones will be easy to get into. So if you have a radio station close by to home, target those ones first. And then you scale up. You most likely will have better success with the smaller radio stations within your region. And I suggest, I know YFM is not big internationally, nationally at home, but they are not an SABC radio station. They'll have a different submission guideline. So if you look over here, they have a submit, and then you fill in all the information here. You see, YFM wants your ISRC code separately. They also want a Dropbox link. So they are totally different to something like 5FM, which is also different to Metro FM, which is also different to True FM. So try stick within the specifications of the radio station. Now you must make sure your music fits the radio station. So once you have your list drawn up, let's say your list started off with all these radio stations, you take off the ones that your music doesn't fit into. So RS here will not fit in hip hop, Radio 2000 will not fit in hip hop, and then you do the same thing. You cross all those radio stations out. You should be left with about 5 to 10. I suggest 5 radio stations is good enough on the SABC side. On the 5 radio stations, you get the email address, and then you also get the contact detail into the switchboard. Switchboard number, where is it? Do contact True FM, or wherever it is. There's the number, office number. You get the office number. You get airtime, and you call the office number and you ask them for the name of the music compiler. And once they tell you who the music compiler is, you write that name down on the same list, and then you ask to be sent through to the music compiler. For some odd reason, music compilers aren't always available, so you write his name down and you call him later in that day, or the next day, and then you ask, how do I go about submitting my music? He'll give you specifications. He's like, okay, that's perfect. And then you send them an email. In that email, you type something very small, something simple. Let me just compose a basic email. Music at Trev. Music playlist submission. The key into sending an email, a cold email, is to keep it very short. So since you've already called the radio station before submitting, you say, dear, whatever the playlist name is, whoever the playlist guy is, imagine it's Joe Soap. You'd remind them that you've called them. So you've already called, you've already spoken to them, so you want to try build a relationship with this person, so you can refer to them by their first name, and you say thank you for the phone call, just to remind them that you actually called them, so you're already mentally playing games with them. Thank you for the phone call. Thank you for the advice on the phone. Thank you for the advice on the phone. As advised, and then you type in I've attached, or however they want you to send information. I've attached the information you required, information you requested, and then you add any other information they want. So they might want an RSRC, they want a SAMRO relation number, blah blah blah, whatever they want. They might want your RSRC relation number, they usually want that. They might want a website. Depending on the size of the radio station, big radio stations don't really care about this other stuff. It's your baby. But the smaller radio stations might want to get more information before they play you. I know in the Eastern Cape, the smaller community radio stations do want this information so they can give it a little discussion before they send it through. And then you attach it. You see how short this email was? Very short. Very, very short. You want to put the artist name, obviously. Sorry about that. Artist name, and then name of song. And that's it. Simple email. Regards. This will take the person 2 minutes to read through. If they're happy with what they got, then they'll accept it. But the key, once you start submitting, is to keep on. You need to be persistent. So once you've submitted, you call the person literally the same day or wait for the next day. The next day you call the person and you tell them, yo, I've sent you an email, have you received my email? They most likely will say no. Oh, okay. But sometimes the smaller radio station, they say, hold on, let me just check my emails, and then they'll give you a story about how busy they were. Not all of them, but some of them will tell you how busy they were, but you just bear with them. And if they get it, they say, thanks, I've received it, and then we'll begin processing it. You leave them for the rest of the week. You call them the next week, same time. Don't call on a Monday, ever. Call on the Tuesday morning at 10 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, and then you tell them the same thing. Like, I was just checking if you were able to playlist me, or I was checking if I could get a playlist or an update if I was playlisted or not. They'll be like, they probably won't remember you because they probably get a lot of phone calls. They will be getting more since this video. You just keep on doing the same thing 2 days, and then you do 2 days after that. So on Tuesday and Thursday, you leave them for Friday, you leave them on Monday, you call them again on Tuesday, call them again on Thursday. Eventually, they will start making. For me, it usually takes 3 weeks before they start, like, they remember you after like 4 phone calls, and then you've effectively become friends with this person. Not friends, but you have a understanding, you know each other now. You do this with all the radio stations that you are targeting, but it is very important that your music fits the radio station. So if they don't have a hip-hop show, don't waste their time, don't waste your time. Remember, once you've sent an email to the music compiler, it is very important that you give them a call probably the next day, and you have to follow up at least once a week for the next 4 weeks, because they are not really focused on your music. It is your music and your responsibility to get them to put your music on the playlist. Each radio station plays different type of music and appeals to different demographic. It's also very important that you submit your music to a radio station that at least has a show that is geared to that type of music. There's no point in sending a hip-hop song to a country radio station and vice versa. So I highly suggest that you spend time one day looking through a list of your radio stations to see which radio station is more likely to play your music, and also to consider the smaller the radio station, the easier it is to get a hold of the music compiler, and the easier it is to be playlisted because they'll feel a personal connection to you. That concludes this video where I explained exactly how to submit your music to radio stations, particularly SABC radio stations. I hope you found this video informative, and if you did, please hit the thumbs up, and if you like this information, please consider subscribing. Don't forget to hit the bell to get a notification every time I release a new video. And until next time, Skilligan the Hooligan, signing out.
That's great. That's great. I'm going to even sign in at this moment and subscribe to this dude because that was great. Okay. All right. So while I sign in, let me just quickly confirm this. All right. I really do hope that that taught you something. It definitely taught me even more, because I'm not a specialist in everything. But that was especially with those other institutions that you have to register with. That was quite interesting. I did not know that, and that was definitely informative. Well, thanks to that great video. Let's just stop the share over here for the moment. Squeeze me back to the class itself, so we can look at some theory and close up the lesson. Oops, hold on a second, stop that there. All right, yeah, genuinely not what I want to do. Okay, 2 seconds, 2 seconds. There now, just a second, and sharing back. Yeah, these neighbors' dogs. Good God, terrible. Anyway, okay. Hopefully, you genuinely cannot hear it. Okay. All right, so nearly done with the lesson, as you can see there, just with the seventh out of the 11th slide there. So now the bit of a recap, right? A bit of a recap on what it is that well you probably did come across. So we did come across in that video. Made sure that again it was something that really directly had something to do with the way that we submit to stations. And again, once again, just kind of rehash what he did say, regurgitate that whole thing of different stations do have different acceptance policies or submission policies. Just to also note that as well. So, for example, we're looking at Metro FM here, how to submit. The music department no longer accepts physical music submissions, which is how we used to do it before. People would send a CD, whatever it may be, and now it's rather obviously digital, which makes obviously a lot more sense, right? Music at metrofm.co.za. All submissions are registered and details of people submitting or recording. All tracks are listened to within the playlist meeting. The tracks are defined with regards to accepted, shelved, or held over. This is the criteria as an example for Metro FM and what they want. When you do submit a song, the song fits within the format. Obviously, again, set in the music policy guidelines, which you can find online at the Metro FM site, right? The level of production is equivalent to that of international standards. So, should the track be local, the track is a radio edit. A song duration must be, let's say, 3.5 minutes, 4 minutes, not six, seven, eight. No explicit lyrics. The tracks have an excessive amount of strong language. That have an excessive amount of strong language. That's you must not do that. The tracks are female friendly as per the music policy guidelines, and the tracks of a duration of not more than 4 minutes in order to make it radio friendly. No instrumental tracks will be accepted due to the station's set mandate. Okay. So all things that ring true. Once again, let's look at, let's say, a different station. So playlist at 5fm.co.za, no bigger than a 5 meg MP3 file to be uploaded. Include a download link for a WAV version, so a very high quality, much larger file is what we have with a WAV. All songs need to be radio edits, no swearing, and preferably under 4 minutes. Include a short biography. The mail must not exceed 6 megabytes, right? Register the song with SAMRO, and the artwork is essential to company submission of requirements 800 by 808 by 800 pixels, right? In a JPEG format. Due to the high volume of music submissions and 5FIM's selection process, we cannot contact all artists with feedback. If you have not heard from the team at 5FIM after 6 weeks, well, please consider that the submission was not successful. Those words we cannot. Oh man, we don't like hearing, right? Let's look at some last notes on the submission process. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to end the lesson there. And as I said to you, I want to start off with another video, particularly around playlisting in Radio DJ. Music departments manage the intake of music at a music radio station by the music compiler. There's no music manager used to be a quite a common position. It's done away with, and it's I said it's amalgamated with music compilers. You would have, let's say, maybe a music manager and perhaps maybe also a music compiler. But now you just have a music compiler that takes care of everything. Normally, just one person is enough for any radio station, no more than that. They keep careful record of what they receive, both from whom and when. You can imagine that the job has a lot. I mean, there's a lot to do every single day. Got to go through music. Got to obviously make sure that the playlist. I'm saying the database is updated. Periodically, whatever the saying the update cycle is per station. It might be every 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. But you've got a lot of you've got a lot of active songs. So perhaps maybe 400 songs that you're working with, and again, obviously, kind of like really tweaking that clock that will then go and draw. So it will based on the clock and obviously the rotation of certain categories, whatever it is, it's going to obviously what word I'm looking for? It's going to extract. There we go. That's a good word. So it's going to extract based on how you've categorized music as you go and enter music or you upload music into the database system, the playback system, and then it'll pull out, and obviously, that's what the DJs will play in their shows, right? Okay, so so this information is important to make sure that a station is sticking to its format and obviously prevent preferential treatment when it comes to what music is picked out for a playlist, right? So once music has been accepted, listened, and logged by the music manager or compiler, the songs are optioned for playlisting. In other words, they are available as what could be extracted, as I said, into the clocks that are set in the playback system by the music compiler, right? With obviously some kind of guidance by the programming department, who has obviously ownership, I would say, not dominance, but a superiority within the programming format itself. And yeah, and like I say, everyone works together to put out a great product at the end of the day. For example, here, so four music record labels known as the Big Four are EMI, Sony Music Entertainment, Universal Music Group, and Warner Music Group, right? Are where most, I'd say most, and that actually changed a lot with interviews that I've had with a lot of South African independents. They prefer to be independent and have moved away from record labels. Some say it's politics, some say it's semantics, and some say it's because they can make more money as independents. But these are the labels that you would like to actually be signed up with as a musician, right? David Gresham obviously is also very big. Super Black Tapes, Gallo Records, Kalawa Jasmine, and Siakaka. Right, okay, known for Kwaito, South African pop and traditional music, deep house. So, like within the video that we're viewing, also know exactly where to play. You understand what I'm saying? In which grounds you should be playing. Okay, so just to end the lesson here, compiling music part 606 is feedback and revision on this particular content, right? So it'll be quite a short lesson, but I will obviously buffer that with some cool videos. And then we will move on to lesson 47, and that'll be where we end for the week. Okay, I'm going to end it over there. So we have some cool digestible. Oh, shoot, what did I do there? Oof, okay, Woo, heart attack. All right. Okay, enjoy for the moment. I'll see you in the next lesson.